So when I played fighting games, one thing that I was really good at was like just reading other people, understanding what habits they have and what things they just do by instinct, and then also like how they adjust and how they like get affected by how you read what you think they're gonna do. So something that I wondered when I started playing Puyo a lot more again was if I could bring that style into Puyo in some way. And with the Hoover Dam, that's like part of the idea. And then just I found some places where you can kind of work that into your play in some ways. So you can make reads on what you think the other person's going to do, and you can counter them. Sometimes even before the opponent does what they're going to do, you can counter it. So you can like counter it in advance. And I always feel like that's a cool play to make. It's like I knew so well what you're gonna do that I countered it before you even did it. So, so like with this GTR setup, for example, the most natural place to put a red yellow is like this because there's no reason to split unnecessarily. And if you do this, it makes it a little bit tougher to build because if you don't get a yellow, then it's hard to put like colors in column one. Whereas if you do this, even if you don't get a yellow for a while, you could put the colors somewhere else and you could do things like build on top so that when you do get a yellow eventually, you'll have a setup for for like building a bigger chain later. So the really natural thing to do is to put a red yellow like this. So if you have a big attack and you think the opponent isn't really looking at it, then if they have a red yellow and they're placing it, you can like send your attack as they're putting the piece down, like as it's like around here. And most of the time, if they aren't paying attention, they'll just put it down and then they aren't going to be able to draw like three yellows and a red in time to counter. So that's like kind of a pre counter or a read on what they're going to do and countering it before they even do it. But if they actually see what you're doing, they're gonna put it like this. So you can't. So it depends on if you think they actually see what you're doing or not. And sometimes you can tell just by like if they see what you're doing, a lot of times they'll slow down a little bit, and then you know they like know, and uh, and then you just have to like wait and see what they do. You can't really pre-counter it. And then there's other times when like people build an obvious setup like this, so it's pretty obvious that there's a two double coming, and it's really hard to extend to anything bigger unless you put a yellow here and connect your main chain. But a lot of times people won't see that. So if someone has this setup, you like pretty much know they're gonna send a two double. So you can like in advance send like a three double or a four chain, and then like if you see the red coming in their queue, you like almost know it's gonna go here, here, or here, and it's gonna be a two double, and most likely here. So you can like counter it in advance, and then it's kind of the same thing where if they aren't really watching, a lot of times they'll just think, oh, it's not a main chain, so I'm just gonna send this two double and counter whatever's being sent to me, even though it's not enough. But if the person is actually watching, a lot of times they'll be like, I'm gonna send this two double. Oh no, that's a four chain or a three double, and then they'll like put the piece somewhere else, like put it over here or something, and then they'll try to extend, but they might not be able to do it, and then you can win anyway. So I think it's really cool to try to go for these like pre counters and these reads, and I don't think it's necessary to go for things like that to be a good player. I just enjoy doing it. So here's some examples from actual matches. So in this one, this area is hard to complete. Like they have to put a yellow here to connect their main chain. So then the read here was that they probably weren't going to put the yellow here, so then they were only going to get, if they were to clear this garbage with something, then clear the blues, then the purples, and then the reds, and then the yellows and purples. That would be a 5 chain. So it's like they're gonna send a 5 chain, and I have to send a bigger 5 chain than them. So they cleared these yellows, and it's gonna be a small 5 chain. It's like I think they're gonna send a 5 chain. I'm gonna send a bigger 5 chain before they send it. So I was like going to, and then so I intentionally put the red here to cut this red, and now when I clear the blue, it's gonna be a 5 chain. So I was like just going straight at it. And then they sent the 5 chain, and I sent a 5 chain, but mine was actually quite a bit more powerful. And it was like an instant win. So so if they like put a yellow in the proper place, it could have gone here to connect to the main chain, or it could have gone here maybe, like somewhere over here might have made a stronger 5 chain. So it's a little bit of a risk, but I just went with my read and got the win. Because if I was like a little slower here, then they could easily just set off their main chain with the yellow and they might win. But I could extend from here, so it's not decided. But because I did it so quickly, I got like a guaranteed win. And then here's some other ones. This right here, when the yellow gets placed there, it's actually pretty committal, and there's not that much you can do here to like make something significantly bigger than a 2 double. So that right when the yellow gets placed there, like they're kind of locked in. So you kind of know what, like they might get a blue purple for a 3 double, but it's really hard to like convert into main chain, for example, or get much bigger than that. So that's the read I have as soon as I see the yellow get placed there. So I'm like ready to pre-counter it. So it's going to be probably a 2 double, maybe 3 double. Like here, they could maybe clear the greens and the purple and, and make a 3 double, but it's going to be something like that. So in advance, before they even send anything, I'm already sending my chain. And now they see I actually have a 5 chain, but they like can't figure out how to convert out of a 2 double into something bigger, like I was saying. And my form is actually really good too, so I could, even if they could like connect their main chain somehow, I could still win. But this is like, it's not like I'm randomly sending a 5 chain. I like read the commit with the yellow and then pre-countered it before they even did anything. So here I was going with the Hoover dance setup. Oh, I think this is the wrong one. Oh yeah, is this? So here I have uh, red, purple. So and they have the red, yellow. Naturally, you would put it here, put the yellow on the bottom and the red on top, and they have no yellows in their queue coming up. So I'm like ready to send my big attack as soon as they place the yellow down and block their trigger. So I'm like going to it, but they see it. So, so I'm like waiting for them to place it down because they have no yellows coming. And it's like, well, as soon as they place it down, I'm gonna send it. and they see it, so they like can't place it. And then they eventually decide to not commit. So I decide to not commit, and now I convert into a more normal chain with the transition because they like didn't commit there. And they can cover with the purple because you can see the purple red coming up, so it's not actually a risk. And then the round goes on. But I thought it was really funny how long we both just kind of did nothing. For the most part, this looks like pretty committed to a main chain. Now it could be a two chain, or two double, three chain on the left, or four chain if you do red, green. Clear the purples, that's a four chain. But there is the red, green. That gets cleared. So it looks like a two chain or a two chain. So I send a four chain, and it was a two chain. Or it could be main chain. But then, and then after they like got here, I could see they didn't draw the purple again, and it was gonna get covered, so I could follow up. And one other kind of read is reading the next pieces. So here they need two yellows, and I see this yellow, but they place it here. And I can see in the next there's no yellows. So if what I say is if you need two of a color and you can't see any of it in the next, it's kind of okay to attack with the two double. You're like favored to win pretty much. Like if they only need one, you can't really do it because they're gonna get more draws after this, and it's more likely than not that they'll draw one yellow because they'll get like two pieces probably, and if it's like 45 or whatever percent it is, it's less than 50, but if it's like 50% to draw it, and they have two chances to draw one, the odds are in their favor. But if they have two chances to draw two, it's like slightly like the odds are a bit against them. So if you're willing to gamble, it's a good bet to take. So here I saw no yellows as I'm putting it down, so I can only look here. But I looked here and I committed not because they have a bad form, but because I saw they had no yellows coming. So for that reason, I was like, looks like a good bet. I'm gonna go for it. And then they drew two pieces, so they beyond what I could see. So I could see this much. And then they drew two more pieces after that, and they didn't draw two yellows. And they have this, but it's not good enough. So that's another kind of read where you can read the next colors, and it's really difficult to do, I'd say. And you don't have to do it to be a good player, like I said, but it can win you some points if you can do it. And sometimes, like, someone will have an unsafe form, like a single red here, and they need three reds, but they actually have like a double red coming up. So you can see that and react to that too and not commit to anything too big. And then this one, I think, like, if you can do this, the opponent might get annoyed because it just feels like they're getting unlucky. They're like, how come I didn't draw the color the one time he actually sent the big attack? And it's Part of it is because I also look at the next when I can. But you could only see so much, so like it looks like a bad attack when they just draw 2 yellows after this, but you can't see that at the time you attack, so anyway, that's all I have for this video.